like, comment, and subscribe for more content. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first edition of a Funko Popcast in 2020. I'm DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shaddy.
And not only is this the first episode for the year of 2020, it is also the first episode of a Funko Popcast as a weekly podcast happening every Friday. So, today's episode is one specific topic, and it's one we've been hyping for quite a bit now, and that is the top 50 Funko Pops of 2019. I think we've been teasing this for like at least 6 months now, and now the time has come, and we are so ready for this. Before I start this list, this has been rated into 3 different categories. The first category being the overall hype, which is basically what I had done is look back at all the comments and kind of do some math calculations on exactly how many good comments there were or good hype between all the fans of Funko. And it's kind of a little bit hard to explain in words, but if you really want to know, I'll put it down in the description below. And then MD and I had both done our own ratings on detail and personal reaction, in which we kind of meshed both of our numbers and got a median number out of those to get the official detail and personal reaction of that. And then obviously the order goes by the official score of each of these pops. So as I edited this podcast, I realized that I didn't explain how to get the official score. So all it is that you get all 3 categories and the numbers recorded from that divided by 3, and you get this median number, and that's the official score and how the top 50 list is going to go. So let's get back to the top 50 pops of 2019. Starting out at number 50, it is number 553 in the Pop Games lineup. From Pokemon, it's Waving Pikachu. Now, this pop was rated an 8.3 out of 10 for overall hype, a 5.8 in detail, and a 5.5 in personal reaction. And the official overall score, which is also the lowest score, obviously, because it's at number 50, is 6.5. So, MD, do you agree with where this Pikachu has been placed on this top 50 list?
Yeah, I do agree, actually. Normally, with something like this, I'd be like, no, that needs to be higher. But with this, of course, we've already seen a Pikachu in the past. And it being a Target exclusive, it's worth about 25 Canadian, I would say. Sometimes you see it for about 30 Canadian. So having a new common one is nice. Obviously, there's not a lot of detail to it, but it does look nice and happy and joyful. And it brings this pop more to life than the other one.
The hype I kind of agree with, the 8.3, just because a lot of people were happy that we're getting a common variant of Pikachu and that they didn't have to worry about finding a target variant in the secondary market.
Exactly.
And that it was easier to get. 5.8 in detail, kind of agree with that because of the fact that, like, there's not really a difference between the common and the exclusive Pikachu, except that the ears are kind of tilted and that basically he's waving. And not only that, the boxes for the Pokemon Pops, just like all of them, they're kind of like, they're not really detailed. Like, the only really detailed thing is like the logo and like the little like emblem for like what type they are.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And 5.5 in personal reaction, yeah, I didn't really react too much because we're like, oh, a new Pikachu, but at the same time, it's like, oh, a new Pikachu.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so we're going to move on now to number 49. This is number 632 in the Pop Animation lineup, and this is from the Scooby-Doo 50 Years lineup, and it's the glow-in-the-dark Captain Cutler Funko Pop. Now, this was exclusive to the Funko Shop, in which we have an overall hype rating of 7.9, detail of 6.4, personal reaction of 6.8, and an official score of 7.0 out of 10.
This is a cool pop. Great character, and it's good to see that we got in that new lineup of the Scooby-Doo Pops how we got the villains as a whole. And obviously this is a pretty iconic character from Scooby-Doo. Now, with this pop, there's not a whole lot of detail going on with it, but it is saved by the fact that the glow-in-the-dark looks so good.
Yeah, I was going to mention, obviously, 7.9 makes sense because of the fact that this was sold out in less than 5 minutes on the Funko shop. The detail, I would also agree on, it's not a 5 because of the fact that, like you said, it's glow in the dark, and maybe the little details of the Scooby-Doo logo and the little 50 years logo on the bottom right corner of the picture. It's good that we ended up adding a Scooby-Doo pop, and especially I think this one deserved it.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 48, it is number 286 in the Pop Heroes lineup. From the Batman 80th anniversary lineup, it is Red Rain Batman. This was rated an 8.3 out of 10 in hype, 7.9 in detail, 5.8 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 7.33 out of 10. 8.3 makes sense because it's a different variant of Batman, and a lot of people they were kind of getting tired of like the normal standard Batman, but adding these cool variants of Batman like this one and the Red Death. It's cool that we're getting more different Batmans. 7.9, I definitely would agree with that, mainly because of the box. Because the Batman 80th boxes are probably the best box designs, in my opinion, for 2019. And the personal reaction, we don't really know about Red Rain Batman all that much, which I kind of agree that's how it's basically a 6 on the personal reaction.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 47. It is number 68 in the Pop WWE lineup. It's Bret Hart with the leather jacket. Now, this was rated a 5.5 in overall hype, which is the lowest score for overall hype on this list, with both ratings of detail and personal reaction being at 8.3 with a overall score of 7.36, only 0.03 up from Red Rain Batman. I agree with the ratings for detail and hype. The detail is absolutely good on this pop, maybe even great, especially the way it had turned out. The only thing that could go up for the detail to possibly make it a 10 is if the box was a little bit more detailed. The box is a little plain to me, in my opinion, as per all the WWE pops. And the hype, the only reason it's 5.5 in hype is because that was also involved in a post with the rest of that wave, which was Elias, Undertaker, Becky Lynch, and Trish Stratus. So a lot of people were excited about an Elias pop and a new Undertaker pop. But at the end of the day, which was the pop out of these that actually have sold out at a lot of stores and you don't see it all that often? The Bret Hart with the jacket.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, it's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. It resembles him so well, and like, I love the pose that they picked. Like, that's kind of just
Yeah.
like it's perfect. There's only one thing that I think could make this pop better, and I think it would have been way higher on the list, and that is if the sunglasses were chrome. Like, I was thinking metallic at first, but I think chrome would be sweet because his glasses are chrome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that would be wicked, and that would definitely skyrocket this pop for me.
Moving on to number 46 in the top 50 list. This is number 563 in the pop animation lineup. From Dragon Ball Super, it's the metallic SSGSS Goku Kamehameha Pop. Now, this was exclusive to Chalice Collectibles, which this had a rating of 9.2 for overall hype, 6.3 for detail, and 6.9 for personal reaction, with an overall score of 7.46 out of 10.
I feel like a lot of people really love this pop. This isn't my favorite Goku pop that's been released, but this one definitely is really cool. I like how, of course, he's in the Kamehameha position, and I mean, the attire that he's wearing, it's accurate, but there's not a whole lot of detail going on with it. I do like how it's metallic. It's an overall good pop. I agree with where it is. It shouldn't be any higher. I also don't think it should be any lower.
Overall hype, I kind of agree with because this is one of the better Dragon Ball Z pops out of a lot of them. I kind of do agree with the detail and the personal reaction over it, just simply because I think what makes this pop is the way that the blue is on the metallic. It turned out really, really well. But overall, just you've seen obviously that kind of Goku attire before, and you got like the little like crystal ball type thing. Or no, it's supposed to be just the energy. That's what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
It's just Kamehameha. Moving on to number 45. Number 501 in the Pop Marvel lineup. From the Marvel 80th anniversary lineup, it is the original Human Torch. This rated a 7.3 in overall hype, 7.8 in detail, and 7.3 in personal reaction, which had rated an overall score of 7.46, which, yes, that is the same score as the Kamehameha Goku, except that the reason it made it to 45 is that it has a higher detail and personal reaction rating. 2 to 1, that's how it made it higher. This is a really cool pop. I love how it ended up turning out compared to the glam shots. The hype is just pretty good on this. 7.8, I agree, mainly because of two reasons. Number one, the way that the translucent flames turn out, and that's basically what stands out from this pop. And it actually turned out better than the new Human Torch from the actual Fantastic Four lineup, because the flames on that are just one color, while the flames on this are just multiple colors, which I really like when it comes to translucent flames. The other thing is just the box art, because it kind of has that like glossy feel like the Batman 80th ones, but not completely. Number 44. This pop is number 540 in the Pop Games lineup from Pokemon. It is the 10-inch Eevee. Now this was a Target exclusive, and this had a 9.2 in overall hype, 5.8, which this one, even though it's the same detail rating as the Waving Pikachu, except the fact that this 5.8 has been rounded from 5.75, so that's what makes it lower, because 5.8 exactly is what the Pikachu was. Then we got the personal reaction rating of 7.6 with an overall rating of 7.5 out of 10.
I agree with those numbers for this pop. I'm not a huge fan of 10-inch pops, but I think that this one is really great because of the lifelike size that you get with it. Eevee's great, of course. I wouldn't say notorious for this, but I guessed that Eevee would be the next pop for the Pokemon lineup, and I was pretty much right, besides that damn Waving Pikachu.
Yeah.
But yeah, this pop's great. We've talked about it before on the podcast. There's not a whole lot of detail with it, but it just doesn't need it, and it looks spot on to what it should.
I think the only reason this pop is in the list is the fact that we don't have 4-inch Eevee until 2020.
Yeah.
So therefore that can't make the list. Coming in at number 43, this is number 875 in the Pop Television lineup. This is from The Office. It is Prison Mike. This is a Hot Topic exclusive. This had an overall hype of 7.4 with a detail rating of 7.8 and a personal reaction rate of 8.0 out of 10 with an official overall score of 7.73. I would say we definitely agree with the personal reaction rate, because this is one of Michael Scott's better personas in The Office that he does, and it makes it look like him, unlike the other Michael Scott pops. Like, especially you mentioned about the normal one, like, if you had this out of box, you might not tell that it's Michael Scott unless you had the box. But with this, especially with the iconic purple bandana, that's what makes it definitely great in detail. It got a 7.8, which I kind of agree with, because even though it's a human pop and it's kind of simplistic, the box kind of brings up the detail, because you got like all the clipboards and stuff like all the other Office pops. And 7.4, it only had this kind of a rating because within that same post you had a bunch of other exclusives announced at the same time, like 3-Hole Punch Jim, Jim as Dwight, and all these other exclusive pops. So it's kind of like sharing the spotlight. So coming in at number 42, this is number 529 in the Pop Marvel lineup. From Avengers Endgame, this is Iron Man with the Gauntlet. Now this pop was a New York Comic Con / Amazon shared exclusive. This had a overall hype of 8.3, detail rating of 7.9, and a personal reaction of 7.0 with an overall rating of 7.73, which is the exact same rating as Prison Mike, except for the fact that it had a higher overall hype and a higher detail rating. So therefore, 2-for-1 scenario again. This is one of those iconic scenes from Endgame if you've seen it. It's understandable that it's only an 8 or 7.9 in detail for the fact that it did not capture the moment of him being like on one knee and being all dirty and like the blood and everything. The box is okay. And then the personal reaction, yeah, 7, because it's like, yeah, you know, it's okay. It could have been better.
I'd agree with that. It definitely could have been better. It is a nice looking pop, though. I do like how the metallic turned out. The head sculpt, obviously, for Tony Stark looks just like him. The design on the gauntlet itself is really cool, so putting it in that pop form, it definitely makes it look sweet as well.
Moving on to number 41 on this list. This is number 525 in the Pop Disney lineup. From Toy Story 4, it's Alien. 6.9 out of 10 overall hype rating, with a 7.5 in detail and an 8.9 in personal reaction, rounding off to an overall score of 7.76 out of 10. I feel this could have gotten a higher rating, but it didn't because a lot of people had found from like dirt sheet pages about this pop already. So kind of the hype was kind of there, but it wasn't for the actual announcement of this pop because this was actually released before it was announced. So a lot of people kind of already knew about it. So it's like, eh. The detail, I basically, yeah, 7.5 is a perfect detail, especially the way it turns out, way better than the OG in my opinion. The box is a little plain, but it's all right. And then obviously, I can only assume like that's the perfect rating of 8.9 for personal reaction.
Yeah, I agree with that. One gripe I have about it is that I don't think it should have been released in the set for Toy Story 4. I haven't seen Toy Story 4 yet, so I don't know how much the aliens played into that movie, but I feel like it should have got released with the prior Toy Story set that was like, what was it, a lot of Toy Story 2 figures, I think were in
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I know what you're talking about with like Mrs. Nesbit and Flocked Bullseye, Woody with
Yeah,
RC, that lineup.
yeah, I feel like it should have been released in that lineup, but I do agree that this one is 1,000 times better than the original. In that reason alone, it should be on this list.
All right, so number 40. This is number 760 in the Pop Movies lineup from Jaws. It is the 6-inch shark biting Quint. Now, this was a San Diego Comic Con / Entertainment Earth shared exclusive, and this pop had an 8.2 in overall hype, an 8.4 in detail, and a 6.9 in personal reaction, with an overall rating of 7.8. The hype I understand because a lot of people really enjoyed the detail of this pop. However, it was in the same post as that Forrest Gump pop, so kind of the hype was taken away by that. The detail 8.4, that's probably a perfect rating for it. What could have made it a 10 is two things, and it's kind of my gripe about this. Number one, like the number one reason, is the fact that Quint is not even reacting one bit to getting bitten by a shark in the pop, and they should have done that with some sort of like reaction in the face. A little detail they could have added is maybe add a blood splatter on the box right in the area of where Quint is at. That would have been
That
cool.
would have been cool, yeah. I mean, I also feel like it looks a little bit weird with him on his back like that. I feel like maybe he should have been like on his side more, or I mean, I guess they wouldn't really put him face down because then you wouldn't really be able to see the pop, especially if it's in box.
Number 39, we're moving into the 30s on this list. 574 in the Pop Disney lineup from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It is Quasimodo holding Gargoyle. And this was also a San Diego Comic Con exclusive, except this was shared with Hot Topic. This had an overall hype rating of 7.1 with a detail rating of 8.8 and a personal reaction of 7.9 with an overall score of 7.93. I noticed the hype because this was involved in the same post as the Carl and Ellie 2-pack, and there was one other pop, I can't remember. Oh yeah, the Black Cauldron, that's it. It was
Oh,
involved in all that, so it was all like some of these underrated movies that no one really thought was ever going to be made into pops, mixed with the Carl and Ellie pop, kind of took away some of the hype involving this pop. The detail I absolutely agree with. I don't know what could have made it possibly a 10. Maybe a little better of box art. However, like the box art in the back is cool because it's actually got a picture of Quasimodo on the tower just looking over the city,
yeah.
which is cool. And I think this pop, in my opinion, should have been a little higher, but not too high. Like, I think still the 30s, but not this low in the 30s.
Yeah, like a low 30, 35 to maybe
Yeah,
33-ish
maybe
area.
35 on the dot, I would think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could probably agree with that if we went off of just pure, like, what we think about the pop.
Yeah. Coming in at number 38 on this list, this is number 504 in the Pop Games lineup. From Pokemon, it's Squirtle. 9.5 in overall hype, 7.0 in detail, and 7.5 in personal reaction with an overall score of exactly 8 out of 10.
Ever since I was a kid, I've loved Squirtle. I almost go water every time with my starters, but Squirtle's near to my heart, so this is my favorite Pokemon Pop released so far for just how much I like it personally. I think it turned out great. The back looks great. I was really worried about that on its time of being announced, but I think it just turned out spectacular. I love Squirtle and I love this pop.
Obviously, I understand the 9.5 in hype because, like I said, I'm pretty sure I actually said it on the last podcast, or it was a podcast before when we talked about the 4-inch Eevee. Pokemon have this kind of like weird hype where like everyone just talks about it all day long, like on
Yeah.
every post. So obviously that 9.5 in hype, understandable. Coming in at number 37 on this list, this is number 880 in the Pop television lineup. From The Office, it is the 3-hole punch Jim Halpert. Now, this was a Funko Shop exclusive, and this had an overall hype of 7.7 with a detail rating of 8.2 and a personal reaction rating of 8.3 with an overall score of 8.06 out of 10.
This is my favorite Office Pop. Reason being is because I believe, just like the prison mic, it captures the moment in the office very well, and this is probably my favorite. I wouldn't call it persona, but this is my favorite costume from The Office, and like I don't know why either. I just really like it. But I think this one turned out great. I'm surprised that this wasn't the chase rather than the Facebook Jim. I think this should have been the chase version, but that being said, I'm okay with it just being a Funko Shop exclusive. Where it is on the list is exactly where it should be.
Number 36. It is number 734 in the Pop animation lineup. From Looney Tunes, it's Wile E. Coyote. This was a Funko Shop exclusive with an overall hype rating of 8.5, detail rating of 8.0, and a personal reaction rating of 7.8 with an overall score of 8.1.
I love this pop. I was really hoping for a Roadrunner, and then when they were announced and we got Wile E. Coyote as well, I don't know why it slipped the mind because Wile E. Coyote's such a great character, but it was a real shock to see it for me. I didn't even think about it. I collect the Looney Tunes lineup, so it's great to see new characters added to the set, and I think this one was done very well. I think his snout looks really good. The whole face in general looks really good. And then they don't just give us a Wile E. Coyote pop and they're like, here you go, here's this not super detailed pop. They give us this like card slash sign that's in his hand that has some nice detail with the lettering on it. It says Wile E. Coyote, genius, and then have brain, will travel. It's funny, it's great. It's the pop that I didn't know I needed, but I do.
Obviously, the hype makes sense because a lot of people were requesting this for the Looney Tunes lineup, and then obviously this sold out in less than 5 minutes on the Funko Shop along with the Roadrunner because this was a 2-pack bundle, so both pops were able to be sold within the bundle, or you could buy them separately when they were available at Funko HQ and Funko Hollywood. Coming in at number 35, this is number 623 in the Pop animation lineup. From Dragon Ball Z, it is the glow-in-the-dark 6-inch legendary Super Saiyan Brawly. Now this was a Galactic Toys exclusive which had a overall hype rating of 9.2 with a detail rating of 8.4, a personal reaction rating of 6.7 with an overall score of 8.1, which that's the same overall score as Wile E. Coyote. However, it had a higher hype rating and detail rating.
I mean, the first thing that you have to say about it is, wow, great detail on this pop. I would say it's one of the best for detail of this year, at least for Dragon Ball. Like, this pop looks so great. There's a lot of colors going on. They mesh together really well, and the glow in the dark on this looks freaking amazing. Brawly isn't really a character I know a whole lot about of in Dragon Ball, but I know for sure that there's a huge fan base for Brawly, and I think he deserved this pop. This is the chase version, if I'm...
Yes, this is the
Yes.
chase version. Which it's understandable why it has a 9.2 rating because I feel like the only reason people were ordering the normal 6-inch Brawly to begin with is for the chance to get this exact chase pop.
Exactly, and it's happened. My buddy Sean ended up getting one. He ordered one, and he got the chase, and I was like...
Yeah, and that's rare. Like, usually
Yeah.
you'd have to get 6, and sometimes even the company screws up and not even give you at least one chase
Yeah.
out of 6. Coming in at number 34, This is number 70 in the Pop Ad Icons. From Frosted Flakes, this is the 10-inch Tony the Tiger. Now this is a Funko Shop exclusive, which this has an 8.4 in overall hype, an 8.7 that was rounded from 8.65 for detail, and a 7.3 rating that was rounded from 7.25 for personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.13.
As most of you may know, ad icons is definitely my favorite category of Funko Pops. I think this is great. Of course, we've seen this pop before, but we haven't seen it in this size. The original one is very pricey. So, just for the fact of being able to get a 10-inch pop of a pop at a cheaper price, it's like, I'm going to be getting this pop, and I'm not going to feel bad about not having the normal size one in my collection. I think it's well deserved to have a 10-inch pop. No pun intended on that. It looks great, by the way.
Coming in at number 33, this is number 455 in the Pop Games lineup. From Pokemon, it's Charmander. 8.6 in overall hype, a 7.2 rounded from 7.15 in detail, and an 8.6 rating in personal reaction that was rounded off from 8.55, with the overall score of 8.13, which this pop was higher than the Tony the Tiger for the simple fact that it has a higher hype rating and a higher personal reaction rating.
Charmander's great as well, in my opinion. Squirtle is... It's a tough call. I think they're pretty much right on par with each other. I think one thing that Charmander has going for it that Squirtle doesn't have is that the head is better. But in my opinion, I think Squirtle's body is better than Charmander's just because of the fact of how well the shell looks and how well the blue mixes with the browns of the shell and just makes it look so good. But this pop is very, very nice as well, and I do think it should be higher up on the list. One of the reasons is because Charmander is more beloved in the Pokemon community. Everyone loves Charizard, so people are going to go nuts for this Charmander pop.
Yeah, obviously the 8.6 makes sense. However, it could have been higher, but I think the day that this was announced was the day we had that Facebook and Instagram outage. So I think that it was late on posting. They didn't post this on social media until 11 p.m. Eastern. So if you would have given it a noon Eastern Standard Time, definitely over 2,000 comments throughout Instagram and then Facebook, Twitter.
So are you saying that because of that outage of social media, this pop could have been higher up on the list?
It could have been higher in overall hype, and it could have been higher up on this list.
Yep.
Coming in at number 32, this is number 676 in the Pop Animation lineup. From Dragon Ball Z, it is the over 9,000 variant of Vegeta. Now this is a Hot Topic exclusive with a 9.1 in overall hype, a 7.4 rounded from 7.35 in detail, a 7.9 in personal reaction rounded from 7.85, which this rounds off to an overall score of 8.13, which this is higher than the Charmander because of the fact that it is a higher overall hype and a higher detail rating.
This is definitely my favorite Dragon Ball Z pop of the year. Of all time, quite potentially. There are some good ones that would definitely contest with it, but this one definitely holds up. This is definitely my favorite Vegeta pop. I've talked about it before on our podcast that one of the main reasons for this is because this is that iconic scene in Dragon Ball Z where Vegeta's using his scouter and he finds out that Goku has a power scale of over 9,000 and he freaks out, crushes his scouter. And of course it became a huge meme on the internet and everyone loves this pop. Everyone loves this scene from Dragon Ball. Even if you're not a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, you know about this and it's just a perfect pop in my opinion.
Do you think it deserved to be at number 32, or it should have been lower or high? Well, I should say actually, realistically, should have been higher.
I think if I were to do a list of 50 with just my opinion, I would take into account some of the hype, but just for my personal opinions on the pops, I think this would have made it to between 20 to 18.
Coming in at number 31, this is number 573 in the Pop Marvel lineup. This is from Avengers Endgame. It is Captain America with the broken shield and the Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. And this had a 7.2 in overall hype, a 9 out of 10 rating in detail rounded from 8.95, It had a personal reaction of 8.2 with an overall rating of 8.13. If I made my own personal top 50, whether using this exact top 50 list we have or not, I think I would have rated this at number 2. This is well done in my opinion in detail. This is such a good moment in Avengers Endgame, and a lot of people were glad that Funko had redone this pop because it was a Marvel Collector's Corp exclusive and that the hammer was on the other side, and they just fixed this pop up real well and it's very detailed. What could have been higher in, I would say, overall hype is if it was announced by itself, because I had to share the spotlight with like Bro Thor, Hulk with Taco. 9.0 in detail, yeah, I agree with that 100%. The only thing wrong with this probably is just how a little bit plain the box is. That's basically it. Coming in at number 30, this is number 87 in the Pop Harry Potter lineup, and it's Fox. And this was rated an 8.3, which was rounded from 8.25, a 9.2 in detail, and a 6.9 in personal reaction, which this was an overall score of 8.13, which this has been the same overall score for the last 5 pops, except some of them were rounded twice, some of them were only rounded once. Fox is above the last 4 pops because it has the highest rating itself out of anything, which comes in the detail section with 9.2, and none of these separate ratings in the categories are higher than 9.2. This is super detailed, like super detailed beyond belief. I actually think I watched the scene again with Fox, and I honestly think, and this is kind of sometimes a rare thing, sometimes not, that the pop actually looks better than what the actual character looks like. And I agree with this hype of 8.3. I know some people don't like how there's so many Harry Potter pops, but at the same time, Harry Potter I think is one of Funko's top 10 licensors, like in the last quarter, so understandable of how much this probably is sold. I can't even find this at like our local stores anymore, so clearly it's sold out of the whole set.
They hit this one on the head. Like you said, so much detail. The fire is the worst part of this pop. I don't think the fire looks good. It kind of looks like Cheese Whiz to me. If the fire looked better, I think this pop would have easily been top 10, just for the fact of how good it looks.
Yeah, like 9.2 is super good for a rating in detail.
Yeah.
So moving on now, we're in the 20s. Number 29, number 44 in the Pop Ad Icons lineup, it is the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah! Overall hype of 7.5, detail rating of 8.0, and a personal reaction rate of 9.0 with an overall rating of 8.16, 0.03 higher than the last 5 pops.
I personally love this pop so much. I got this at Hot Topic.
Okay.
And as soon as I knew it was released there, I made it there the day of. Maybe it was the next day just because I knew I needed to have this pop. Of course, I'm a huge fanboy for the ad icons, but I also have a soft spot in my heart for Kool-Aid Man. This pop looks great. One of my favorite parts about this pop is how the ice cubes and the top of the glass look with how they're translucent. There's nothing you could do to make this pop better at all besides let's see some variant colors in the future.
7.5. The only reason it's 7.5 is because it shared a post with the Green Giant characters, because this was announced during New York Toy Fair and they wanted to get like ad icons in all in one post.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason. 8.0, I think I 100% agree with this rating for 2 reasons. Number 1 is because of the fact of what you mentioned, how it ended up turning out so well compared to the concept art. The concept art, it was like, all right, this looks cool. But the thing that just makes it so awesome is those damn ice cubes, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was great detail of the ice cubes. I don't think it could be a 10 out of 10, like, in detail, but this is, like, 8 out of 10, the highest you could probably go in simplistic detail.
Yes.
And then also a detail that they could have not added, but they ended up doing it, is adding the brick wall with the broken bricks with the Kool-Aid Man saying, oh yeah. Awesome detail for that. Coming in at number 28... This is number 54 in the Pop Basketball, or as I would like to say, Pop NBA lineup. From the Chicago Bulls, it's Michael Jordan. Overall hype rating of 8.7 out of 10 with a detail rating of 7.9, a personal reaction rating of 8.0 out of 10 rounded off from 7.95 to give ourselves a overall rating of 8.2 out of 10.
The first thing I have to say about this pop is that the reason why it's on this list mostly is because it's refreshing for the basketball pops. We finally have something new for basketball pops, and that is a posed figure where he's not just like dribbling the ball or like has it like in his arms. He's doing the Air Jordan dunk. This pop, it's great. I do own this pop. It is in my collection. There's not a whole lot you can say about this pop besides it's exactly what it needs to be. I don't think this pop could be any better, and I don't think, well, it could have been worse, but there's no way to advance this pop in any way. It's exactly how it should be.
Hype is understandable. A lot of people were talking about more about this pop rather than the exclusives that were announced along with this. Because, like you said, this is very refreshing. There's never been a basketball pop where they're doing some sort of action. And that's literally what I was thinking when MD and I were thinking, do you want to put Michael Jordan on this list? Because I feel like also, if I didn't add like Michael Jordan on this list, like, man, people would probably be rioting. Coming in at number 27, number 735 in the pop animation lineup from Looney Tunes, it's Roadrunner. This was a Funko Shop exclusive, which was a part of a 2-pack bundle along with number, I think it was 35, if I'm not mistaken, I was on this list, already mentioned, Wile E. Coyote. This was rated at an 8.8 out of 10 in overall hype, 7.8 in detail, an 8.0 out of 10 in personal reaction with an overall rating of 8.2. This is the same overall score as Michael Jordan, except the fact that this has a higher rating in hype, and even though that Michael Jordan would have had a higher detail, and they basically would have been tied for the rating of 8.0 for personal reaction, the 8.0 for Roadrunner was not rounded, while Michael Jordan's was rounded, making Michael Jordan's personal reaction number lower than Roadrunner's, making Roadrunner higher.
The first thing that I have to say is that I find it so funny how these two pops are right beside each other on this list. We got a Looney Tunes character, and then we have Michael Jordan. Let's get the jam going. This is the pop that was definitely very requested by fans of Funko. I've seen it so many times on mostly Instagram saying like, where's Roadrunner? Or when Brian Mariotti was posting his clues and he put like the legs running, people were saying, really hope it's Roadrunner. Let's get a Roadrunner, all this stuff. Of course, we didn't get a Roadrunner. But then after they announced like what pops were for the 12 Days of Christmas, this was only like
2 or 3 days after.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'd rather see it released like that than in that 12 Days of Christmas, because you get that disappointment of not getting the pop you wanted, and then a couple days later they throw it on you, and it's like, wow, it makes you pop a little bit harder for it. No pun intended. I think it looks great. Like I've said before, though, with this for a couple different things, is that I would probably put the Wile E. Coyote in front of the Roadrunner, but I understand why the Roadrunner would be higher up on the list than Wile E. Coyote.
Coming in at number 26, this is a Pop Games 2-pack. From Overwatch, this is Hanzo and Genji. This was an E3 2019 exclusive that was also shared to EB Games / GameStop. This was rated at an overall hype of 6.9 out of 10 with a 9.2 out of 10 in detail, 8.5 in personal reaction with an overall score of 8.2, the same as the last two, except the fact that the detail and personal reaction rating was higher than Roadrunner.
This is another one of those pops where I already have it in my collection. This pop just, it blew me away. We've seen the concept art and stuff, or like not even the concept art, but
the glam shots.
The glam shots, and I'm thinking, wow, those are cool, but how are they going to hold up? Finally see them in person, and it's like, wow, the details are on point. There's virtually no paint flaws with it. The Hanzo, more in particular, I think just, it looks phenomenal. It's a phenomenal looking pop. The Genji as well looks great, but it's kind of a little bit on the plain side compared to the Hanzo, which just totally looks phenomenal in my opinion. And of course they have to be paired together, the two brothers. With these skins combined together, I think this is just a perfect idea for a pop for skins for Overwatch.
I agree with the 9.2 in detail, super detailed. I guess the only thing, once again, like the box, is the box.
Yeah, all of the Overwatch boxes are kind of just meh, but I think that's because there's not a whole lot you could do with packaging for Overwatch stuff.
We are now halfway on our list. We just covered half the pops, and now we're going to basically the top 25 pops. So starting off with this one. This is a Pop Disney 2-pack. From Up, it's Carl and Ellie. Now this is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive shared with Box Lunch. This was rated at 8.1 out of 10 in overall hype, 9.7, which was rounded from 9.65 out of 10 in detail, with a 7 out of 10 rating, with an overall score of 8.26 out of 10. I understand the hype with the 8.1. It wasn't like a 10 hype because, once again, this is from the same post with Quasimodo and the 2 pops that were from Black Cauldron. So they kind of shared the rating for that matter. The detail, I agree with this like 9.7 detail. I don't know what could have been better for these pops themselves. I actually recently watched Up again, so like looking at these, I'm like, man, it's basically spot on. I guess the only thing really is like maybe covering the white edging for the box, because like overall for what it is, it's very good.
Yeah, I mean, the box itself looks phenomenal. Like, I'm using that word phenomenal a lot, but we're talking about the best pops of the year here. These are, and especially now that we're getting down to the top half of this list, like, these pops are going to start popping off. Again, no pun intended. The only reason why I think these didn't make it as high is I believe that these are characters that, like, we don't need versions of these. These are great, and I'm sure a lot of people
these
love
like
these.
There's no way they could have made like these exact characters separate. They had to put them in 2-pack.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
Coming in at number 24, this is number 453 in the Pop Games lineup. From Pokemon, it's Bulbasaur. This was rated at a 9.6 out of 10 in overall hype, which is the highest overall hype for all the Pokemon pops that were mentioned. We have a detail rating of 7.6 along with that same 7.6 rating for personal reaction, which gives this also at an 8.26 rating. This is higher than Carl and Ellie because it has a higher hype rating and a higher personal reaction rating.
In my opinion, this is the best looking Pokemon Pop that has been released yet. And there's reasons for that. The reason is the mouth looks great. The pose looks great. I mean, you gotta keep it simple with Bulbasaur. I mean, the only thing that they could really do for a different pose if they had like his arms up in like an attacking position. But they're not going for that. They're going for a nice, happy looking Bulbasaur, which most of the time he is. The spots on it are so accurate to what most Bulbasaurs look like because, of course, there's different Bulbasaurs. Their spots look different. But Ash's Bulbasaur looks just like this, and it's definitely the best Pokemon Pop that's released for look-wise, at least.
9.6, understandable. And I think the only reason, in my opinion, that it was so high for overall hype is the fact that Bulbasaur was the first Pokemon Pop announced after we had the Target exclusive Pikachu.
I actually meant to say that, and I forgot to say that. I had that in my head. It makes so much sense.
Coming in at number 23, this is number 871 in the Pop Television lineup. From The Office, it's Dwight Schrute, which this was rated at an 8.7 out of 10 in overall hype, 7.6 in detail, and an 8.6 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.3. Now, this Dwight is basically almost the most spot on of any human pop I've probably ever seen. And I use the word probably because I bet there's more on this list. But for like a TV show wise, like this basically looks exactly like Dwight Schrute. This looks more like Dwight than basically Jim looks like Jim and Michael looks like Michael. I agree with the hype because a lot of people like Dwight Schrute. It's one of the best Office characters. What could make it a 10 out of 10 in detail? I don't know if it can make it a 10 out of 10 just because it's a human and it's not going to be super detailed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Coming in at number 22, this is number 636 in the Pop Animation lineup. From My Hero Academia, it is Hero Killer Stain. This was a New York Comic Con exclusive pop that was shared with EB Games / GameStop, which this was rated at an 8.9 out of 10 overall hype, 9.2 detail, 6.8 personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.3, which this is higher than Dwight because it has a higher overall hype and a way higher detail rating. This pop, man, I've never watched My Hero Academia a single day in my life, but when I seen this, damn, this is one of the most detailed pops of the year. And clearly it shows that in our calculations for the detail, because not a lot of pops, I think, on this list are being rated somewhere above 9. I almost bought this just for the fact that this looks like a cool pop, but
Yeah, I agree with that, and I've actually thought about the same thing as like, wow, I would buy this just because of how it looks, even though I don't know the character. I think he kind of looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, in my opinion, just with like the tongue hanging out and like the bandana, I
bandana,
guess you'd
yeah.
call it, over the eyes. This pop is loved by a lot of people. I've heard it, like just going out and buying pops. I've heard people talking about like, oh, look at how cool that is. Like whether you're a fan of like My Hero Academia or just of pops, they're like, wow, that's a nice pop. Yeah, just the detail is crazy on this pop. It looks really, really nice.
Yeah, a lot of people, I understand the 8.9 rating because there is a pretty big following when it comes to My Hero Academia now. And a lot of people are super excited because, if I'm not mistaken, this pop and the Dobby pop for New York Comic Con are actually the first My Hero Academia villain pops made.
Oh, okay.
So I guess all the other ones, if I'm not mistaken, if you're a huge fan of My Hero Academia, let me know if that statement is correct. If not, just put it in the comment section below. But moving on to number 21, and I know that MD's going to want to talk about this and whether he thinks this should be higher or not on the list. This is number 111 in the Pop Rocks lineup. It is Pop Poppin' Billy's feeling like a rock star. Pop. I almost said Pop Malone. Post Malone.
Well, it is Pop Malone, right?
Yeah, it's a pop of Malone. This has an overall hype rating of 7.8 with a detail rating of 9.0 out of 10 with a personal reaction of 8.2, making the overall score 8.33.
With this Post Malone pop, you said we're at 21 here.
Yeah,
with
we're
Post
at
Malone?
number 21.
That's funny because he has a song with 21 Savage, like you were singing, Rockstar. All jokes aside, I believe that this pop should easily be in the top 10 list if it was my own personal list. Many reasons. The hype on this, unreal. Maybe not even just social media hype, but all the hype I've heard from just like going out and like talking to people, maybe fans of Post Malone. People who know that I collect Funko Pops come up to me and they go, "Oh, have you heard about the new Post Malone pop?" Blah, blah, blah. Like, I seen ads for it on Facebook, which you don't normally see for a lot of Funko Pops, right?
Yeah.
This pop, the end of spring, this pop, I could not log on to social media without hearing about this pop. The other reason why I think this should be higher up on this list is because of how detailed it is and how well executed it is to look like Post Malone. You have all the face tattoos, you have the tattoo on his chest, you have the tats on his fingers and his hands, his fingernails are painted, the suit looks really good with the stripes, all the piercings are correct, and then you have the solo cup, and then they even went above and beyond and they added a cigarette in between his fingers. Another thing about this pop is that the eyebrows on this are a little bit different than most pops. Normally when you see eyebrows, they're like one line, maybe they're shaped a little bit, but these ones are not only shaped, but they also have like frilly bits on them, so to speak, that kind of stand out, that they're like bushier eyebrows. And I just think this is definitely one of the best pops of the year.
And the only reason it's 7.8 is because even though there is a lot of Post Malone fans, there's probably just as many people who hate Post Malone.
I never thought about it that way. That is true.
Number 20 on this list. This is number 520 on the Pop Disney lineup. From Toy Story, it is the Flocked Bullseye. Now, this was a Funko Shop exclusive. Overall hype of 9.7 out of 10 with a detail rating of 6.5 and a personal reaction rating of 8.8, making this an overall score of 8.33, the same as Post Malone, but the only reason that this is higher is because it has a higher hype rating and a higher personal reaction rating. Obviously, I understand a lot of people were waiting for this pop when it first got announced, and for like I say, probably throughout March and April, and then basically when it came out in mid-May, people were commenting, "Where's Flock Bullseye? Where's Flock Bullseye?" They were just wondering why it hasn't released while the other ones have basically been released before that. I agree with the detail. There's not so much detail. I would say that, like, yeah, it'd probably be a 6 if it wasn't flocked, but the 0.5 making it flocked is how it is. And then the box is pretty plain itself, along with the majority of the Toy Story pops. And then coming in at number 19, This is number 769 in the Pop Movies lineup. From Forrest Gump, it's Forrest Gump with the box of chocolates. The overall hype rating for this is 8.6 with a detail rating of 8 out of 10, and then a personal reaction rate of 8.5 out of 10 with the overall score of 8.36.
I think this is super accurate to the movie. I mean, of course, when you think of Forrest Gump, you think of the box of chocolates. It's so great that they decided to put this as a pop. I mean, why wouldn't they? I think the hair in its own looks really good. How they have like these little nicks in the hair that make it look a little bit more detailed than just having no detail, I guess. I think it looks just like Tom Hanks, so that's great. And you have like the shoes, how they're a little bit muddied up. The suit looks great. Even the shirt underneath looks so accurate to the button-up shirt that he has in the movie. What a wonderful pop.
A lot of people did like the ping pong version, but at the same time, they were hoping this one was more like a movie moments where he's sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
But I understand that they only did it as a 4-inch pop because probably no one would want to really pay for a movie moments all that much. I mean, I bet people would, but they would rather pay it cheaper with a 4-inch pop. The 8 out of 10 detail is basically spot on of what I would rate it. Off the top of my head, I can't exactly remember what the box looks like, but I think it's like not too bland. Like it's not like plain like a lot of boxes.
Yeah, it's not super plain, and then I believe on the back of the box there's a picture
There's
of
the picture of him sitting on the
sitting on
bench.
the bench,
I
yes.
thought so. That's what definitely would make it 8.0 in detail. Coming in at number 18, this is number 72 in the Pop Ad Icons. This is the normal icy polar bear. Now, this was a Funko Shop exclusive, a part of the 12 Days of Christmas bundle. This was rated at a 9.2 in overall hype, 8.3 in detail, 7.6 in personal reaction, with an overall rating of 8.36, which is the same as Forrest Gump, except that it has a higher overall hype and a higher detail.
Here we go with the ad icons again. I love them. We've talked about this in the podcast, how this was one of those pops where when it got announced, it was like, damn, I would have never thought about that as an ad icon. It looks great. There's not much more to say besides detail is really good on this pop, and it's just overall well done. The box itself looks really good too for being a simplistic box.
Coming in at number 17, this is number 822 in the Pop Television lineup. From the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror lineup, it's King Homer. This was rated at 8.6 out of 10 for overall hype, 8.5 in detail, and 8.1 in personal reaction, with an overall rating of 8.4.
Back in the day, there was these Burger King toys, and they were the Treehouse of Horror, and they had a King Homer where he's holding Marge like this. But what they did for Marge is that they just put like, not a cylinder, but like a stick in a sense, in his hand, and they painted the top of it blue and the bottom of it red for the shoes, and it got the point across that that's Marge in his hand. And Funko could have easily done something just like this with this pop, but they didn't. They gave us a little tiny mini pop of Marge in the hand. I think it's just so great. I mean, of course, there's not a lot of color detail because it's a black and white episode, but it still looks really good. You have the kind of shiny bits for the shackles on the ankles and the wrists, and then you have like these 3 different colors of gray and the black and the white, and I think it all just comes together and it looks really, really good. Such a cool pop. One of my favorite pops overall for all Simpsons pops that have been made so far.
Coming in at number 16, this is number 2 in the Pop Towns lineup. From SpongeBob SquarePants, it is SpongeBob and Gary with the Pineapple House. This was rated at 8.7 out of 10 for overall hype, 8.4 out of 10 for detail, 8.7 for personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.6 out of 10.
First thing I have to say about this is, can we see a Krusty Krab with Mr. Krabs?
Not going to be surprised if that's a thing in 2020.
Or even with like a Squidward. Now, the first thing I feel like most people talk about when they talk about this pop is that the eyes on Gary look kind of weird. I agree with that. I think that when they're making these pops, they obviously don't want to go too far away from the idea of just having the plain black eyes or plain one color eyes. They don't want to make it look like any other figure, because at that point, it kind of does. But I think Gary should have been the exception where they could have just done like a white eye with like a yellow colored eye and then the black pupil, and I think it would have looked so much better, and I still think it would have got the point across that those are pop eyes.
Yeah, or maybe if it's not just a complete black eye, make it so that it's kind of like an eyelid of sorts. Like make it blue and just like not make it so that it's all black.
Yeah, if we would have
It
seen
looks
like the
demonic.
tops and the bottoms have a little bit of eyelid showing, I think it would have looked a lot better, and I think this could have easily been put up a couple spots on the list just because the Gary kind of looks weird. SpongeBob looks great. The Pineapple House looks wicked. This is so awesome, and I'm surprised I don't have it in my collection yet.
Coming in at number 15, this is number 77 in the Pop Ad Icons lineup. From Cheetos, it's Chester Cheetah. This was rated at 8.9 out of 10 for overall hype, 8.3 in detail, 8.8 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.66 out of 10.
This pop is great. More ad icons in this list. Ad icon, like the term ad icon. We've seen some ad icons where it's like, okay, it's an ad icon in a sense because it's from advertisement, but it's not really an icon. In my opinion, Chester Cheetah is so iconic, and this pop was done up so well. The pose is great. The details on the head are phenomenal. The glasses look really cool. This is one of my favorite pops of the year, and one of my favorite ad icons.
Coming in at number 14, this is number 5 in the Pop Icons lineup. From the famous fast food restaurant known as KFC, it is Colonel Sanders. This was rated at 9.4 out of 10 in overall hype, 8 out of 10 in detail, 8.7 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.7 on the dot.
Now, this is one of those pops that is licensed under the icon list when it really could have been an ad icon, and I understand that it should be an icon because it's a real person, but at the same time, this is an ad icon. Like, he's on the sign for KFC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is how they promote their business. Everyone knows the Colonel. This pop is great. I don't think it should have been any higher, and I don't think it should have been any lower. What an amazing pop.
Coming in at number 13, this is number 498 in the Pop Games lineup. From Overwatch, it's Hellfire Reaper. Now this was a Walmart exclusive with an overall hype of 8.8, a 9.4 in detail, and an 8.1 in personal reaction with an overall score of 8.76 out of 10.
This pop is so cool. All the colors blend so well together, especially with that cape that's flowing from the back. If you know Reaper, he's an undead kind of character, and how the cape flows into this translucent color looks so great. I haven't actually seen this pop in person, so I don't know how amazing that looks in real life, but definitely from the glam shot itself, it makes it seem like that's gonna look super nice. And there's so many colors, which is so nice, and they're all these nice warm colors, and then you have, of course, all these metallic bits that really stand out with these colors. I'm at a loss for words with this pop, just for how detailed it is, how well it looks, and how accurate it looks to the skin itself.
Coming in at number 12, this is number 124 in the Pop Rocks lineup. From the band Kiss, it's the Catman. 9 out of 10 in overall hype, 8.5 out of 10 in detail, and 9 out of 10 in personal reaction with an overall score of 8.8 out of 10.
You want the best, you got the best. It's Kiss. The Catman is my favorite member of Kiss, actually. I've been a huge fan of Kiss ever since I can remember, like, probably even before birth, as my mom and my dad went to a show while my mom was pregnant with me, so I've had rock and roll all night flowing through my veins before I was even brought to this world. And this pop looks great. I was so happy to see that they did a new line of Kiss pops because the original ones are so expensive, and these ones look so much better than the originals. We got a drum kit, which is super cool. It's got the logo of the band on it. I don't know how they could make this pop better.
Coming in at number 11, number 321 in the Pop Star Wars lineup. This is actually a Pop Deluxe and not a Pop Rides, and I'll explain why in a bit. This is the Han Solo in the Millennium Falcon. Now this was an Amazon exclusive. This pop was rated at 8.8 out of 10 in overall hype, 9.5 in detail, and an 8.4 out of 10 in personal reaction with an overall score of 8.9.
This is an awesome pop. I never really would have expected this. We've seen other Star Wars pop rides before. For some reason, never thought, let's see a Millennium Falcon. I didn't think we'd see it in this scale. This is huge. Like, I'm a huge fanboy of Star Wars, so seeing something like this is awesome to me. Some people aren't too happy with the fact that, like, the Han Solo is kind of big in comparison to the Millennium Falcon itself, but I think it works out very well.
The reason I was mentioning about how this is a Pop Deluxe and not a Pop Rides is because they haven't reached 100 yet in the Pop Rides lineup, because the most recent one is the Gizmo Pop Rides, and I think that's only number 70 something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so
I think it's like 77 or something like that.
something like that. And so there's no way it hasn't even, like, there's 300 Pop Rides as it is, so it's a Pop Deluxe. We're finally at the top 10 of this, and this is getting intense right now. So number 10, number 121 in the Pop Rocks lineup, once again from the band Kiss, it is The Demon, aka Gene Simmons. This has a 9 out of 10 for overall hype, 8.4 out of 10 for detail, and 9.4 out of 10 for personal reaction, with an overall rating of 8.93.
This looks way better than the original, like we said with the Catman. There's a lot of detail going on with this. We have that fire stick, which is so cool to see because if you don't know anything about the band Kiss, Gene Simmons uses that to blow fire out of his damn mouth. And like when we got those original Kiss ones and we seen them, it's like, okay, yeah, here's Kiss Pops, and then these got released and it's like, wow, so much better. The hype on this was unreal, especially for me. I think the bass guitar looks really good. His outfit looks really good. The face, and I think my favorite part about this pop is the hair. I think the hair looks so good on this pop.
And obviously, I think a lot of people, the reason why it's not 10 out of 10 and it's 9 out of 10 is because of the guitar. But I understand, because I feel like if they did the Axe bass, which I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, was made by Gibson, Funko would have to get a separate license for Gibson.
Yeah.
So overall, there's no point of getting two separate licenses for just one pop. So coming in at number 9, it is number 5 in the Pop Town lineup from the movie Up, and it's Kevin and the Up House. This was a New York Comic Con exclusive shared with Box Lunch. This has a 9.3 in overall hype, with a 9.7, which is the highest detailed rating in this top 50 list, and having a 7.9 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.96. This is absolutely phenomenal. Even the house itself could have been its own pop, but obviously they wanted to have like a pop for the movie that a lot of people wanted, which was Kevin, and they added the Up House, meshing them two together so that you wouldn't have to pay like such a big price for two separate ones, but one decent price for one. It's very great in detail. I agree with this 9.7. I don't know exactly what could make it a 10 out of 10. Like,
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the bird, what's his name?
Kevin?
Kevin, right. If you look at Kevin itself, it looks great. It's a very detailed, really nice pop. And then you look at the house and it's just like, wow, that looks like a full-size dollhouse with how much detail is put in this house that is sized down from a dollhouse.
Coming in at number 8, number 58 in the Pop Ad Icons lineup from Coca-Cola, it is the Coca-Cola Polar Bear, and this was rated at 9.3 in overall hype, 8.8 in detail, and also 8.8 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 8.96 out of 10. And although that the hype is exactly the same as the Kevin and Up House, Coca-Cola Polar Bear makes it higher because the 9.3 for Kevin and the Up House is actually rounded from 9.29, while this is rounded from 9.33, so therefore making it higher on the list.
So the Coca-Cola Polar Bear. I knew this would be listed very high on our list just because it's such a great pop, and this is another one of those pops where it kind of has a soft spot in my heart. Growing up, I still have to pick this one up, and I mean there are different variants of this with the flocked one now and the
10-inch.
The 10-inch, but I will definitely be at least picking up the common because I think it's fantastic. The packaging looks really great. It's another one of those super iconic characters where everyone knows this character, and I think it deserves to be exactly where it is on this list at number 8.
Coming in at number 7, this is number 291 in the Pop Heroes lineup From the Batman 80th anniversary lineup, it is Batman and Commissioner Gordon Pop Movie Moments from Batman Begins. And this was rated at 9.6 out of 10 for overall hype, 9.5 in detail, 8.5 in personal reaction, with an overall score of 9.2. Once again, with these Batman 80th boxes, the box is just awesome. Spot on. I agree with this 9.5 rating for detail for sure. I guess one thing, and I think it might be like one of MD's gripes, is the fact that the bat signal that lights up doesn't light up enough so that you can see a bat logo on your wall.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if they could have done with, if anyone's ever used laser pointers before, where you can unscrew the top, screw on a new one, and then you can, like, flash, like, a star on the wall or, like, a circle instead of just a dot. They could have done something similar with this where the bat logo would be projected onto wherever you project it onto, and I think that would have made it probably the best pop of the year. The coolest pop I've ever seen, at least, for sure.
Coming in at number 6, this is number 923 in the Pop television lineup, and the only one from this TV show, the TV show known as Stranger Things, it's Alexi. Hype rating of 9.2, detail rating of 9 out of 10, and a personal reaction rating of 9.5 out of 10, with an overall score of 9.23 out of 10.
This pop's great. It's not super detailed or anything like that besides maybe the Slurpee itself, and it doesn't really need to be detailed. It just, we needed this pop. This is the pop that everyone wanted. If you're a Stranger Things fan and a pop vinyl fan, you wanted this pop. Everyone fell in love with this character. I haven't heard anybody who doesn't like this character. The hype on its own just makes it deserve to be in the top 10.
Coming in at number 5, we're at the top 5. Do I insert a Booker T theme song when it's the top 5? Maybe, maybe not. Hit the music. Ooh, I'm gonna be off on my singing. Can you dig it, sucker? Obviously, coming in at number 5. It is number 343 in the Pop Star Wars lineup. It is the Lights and Sounds, also known as the Electronic Darth Vader. Now, this pop was rated 9.5 out of 10 in overall hype, 9 out of 10 in detail, and 9.3 out of 10 in personal reaction, with an overall rating of 9.26 out of 10, 0.03 up from Alexi.
First of all, one of the best things about this pop is this box. This box looks cool. I really like this. It's pretty simplistic because of the fact that most of it is just black, and then you have the stars, which super iconic for Star Wars, obviously. The pop itself, I mean, it kind of just is another Vader pop, but the buttons on his chest look really good. The fact that it lights up and that there's sound with it just puts this pop into a whole new category of pops, and it's just so great, and I can't wait to see more just like this.
Coming in at number 4, this is number 64 in the Pop Rides lineup. From Crash Team Racing, it is Crash Bandicoot with his go-kart. I guess that's what I would call it. This was rated 9.4 out of 10 in overall hype, 8.9 out of 10 in detail, and 9.6 out of 10 in personal reaction, with an overall rating of 9.3 out of 10. This Pop Rides is just fantastic when it comes to the box, the pop itself. Yeah, maybe the box could be a little better, but not by much. Like, honestly, it's once again like the white lining that is around the sides and stuff. But even if you have this pop in box, if you look at the back, it actually shows for like the number 64, and it only shows on the back. I don't think it shows on the front, where it shows like 3 red lights, and then the green light is where it shows number 64.
Right.
Which is fantastic on Funko's part on adding that for a little bit of detail.
Yeah, I mean, this pop is amazing. I actually just recently picked this one up, even though it's been out for a little bit now.
Yeah, it's been like close to 6 months at least.
But I haven't seen it in Canada. I had to go to the States is where I found it. As soon as I seen it, I wish there was another one, because I would have got DK over here, one of them. But yeah, this pop, the pose on it is amazing. The face sculpt looks great. The go-kart looks really good as well. It also is a pop that gives me hope for other types of pops. The only gripe I have about this pop is that I don't like how it looks inside of the box because it's sideways, which kind of makes sense because you want to see all the details, but this is one of those pops where you take it out of the box and display it.
Coming in at number 3, we're at the top 3. This is getting close. This is a Pop Television 2-pack, and it's from The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. It is the glow-in-the-dark Kang and Kodos. Now, this was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that was shared with EB Games/GameStop. This was rated at a 9.7 out of 10 for overall hype, 9.2 out of 10 for detail, and 9.1 out of 10 for personal reaction, with an overall score of 9.33, 0.03 higher than Crash Bandicoot.
This is probably my favorite release of the year. When this got announced, I was shocked and I knew I had to have it. And then trying to find this pop was so hard to do, and the price went up so much at the time. Finally finding it, thanks to DK here, it went full circle for how a pop hunt should be, and just amazing pops. I love how they just have the one huge eye. I don't think we've ever seen eyes like this on a pop where you just have like a massive eye. These pops are so nice and they're huge. Like, they're pretty big pops. Like, I guess it makes sense because they don't really have like a body, so they make up for it with like having the huge head. But then they also have the dome around their heads, which looks really good. And then the saliva coming out of their mouths looks amazing as well. And the glow in the dark feature, I could say it could be a little bit better, but for what it is, it's really nice.
When thinking about what could be the number 1 pop, I honestly thought this was going to be the number 1 pop of 2019 for our list. But do I think it should be lower than a top 3? No. It definitely should stay in the top 3. Coming in at number 2. It is number 288 in the Pop Star Wars lineup. It is from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. It is the glow-in-the-dark electrocuted Darth Vader. This was a Target exclusive in which this has a 9.8 hype rating, which that is the highest hype rating of the whole top 50 list. 9.4 out of 10 detail rating, a 9.3 personal reaction rating with a overall score of 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, this is my favorite Star Wars pop of the year. There's just so many reasons. One, this is an iconic scene from Return of the Jedi. The thing that I like about this glow-in-the-dark feature, which they showed it in the glam shot, and they actually pulled it off, is that when it glows in the dark, you can actually see a pop skeleton head when it glows in the dark, especially with the teeth, and it's just crazy amount of detail. I kind of wish I had this pop. If I would have found a Target exclusive glow-in-the-dark electrocuted Darth Vader, I definitely get it. I have the common just because I think there's a possibility I might not be able to find for a cheap price this pop.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I have the common too for the reason that this is a little bit harder for us to find. But I do agree with you that it looks phenomenal when it's glowing in the dark. And even the common itself looks really good. Like, you can still see the skeleton head through it, and it looks really nice. This captures the moment so well. One of my favorite moments in Star Wars from my favorite Star Wars movie. If this didn't come at least top 5, I would be shocked. No pun intended.
Actually, before we go to number 1, we're going to talk about some honorable mentions of 2019 because I think we should. There's a lot I'm thinking for like each category. Maybe we'll talk about one from each of some of the categories. Like animation is one I actually totally forgot, and that is the Hot Topic exclusive Dark Magician.
Yeah, that was a really solid figure.
It was a solid figure. Ad icon, I would say maybe either Mr. Owl or Energizer Bunny.
Definitely Energizer Bunny was a really great pop for this year.
Yeah. Going to pop at WWE because we're huge fans of the WWE lineup. I say the common Becky Lynch. It had a lot of hype compared to a lot of the pops, even the Bret Hart one, and even quite a bit of detail with the attire. However, we just thought that the Bret Hart one, in our opinions, was better than the Becky Lynch one. Going to pop television, actually, when MD and I were trying to figure out this top 50, and we were listing off some pops, and then some said yes, some said no. One of the no's is actually Klaus Hargreaves from the Umbrella Academy, in which I really wanted this pop to be on it, but obviously the only way pops get on this top 50 list is for both of us to agree on what pops will be on this. And I think another pop television is Steve Irwin for Crocodile Hunter. That was a great pop that definitely deserves an honorable mention.
Another honorable mention is the Star Wars Watto.
Okay,
I
yeah.
thought that was another great Star Wars pop.
Yeah, one actually, another honorable mention for the Star Wars section is the Sand Trooper, New York Comic Con / Target exclusive, which is just a fantastic pop in detail. For Marvel, I think a lot of the Fantastic Four pops are very great. The only reason Fantastic Four didn't make it on this list is because we had finished making the top 50 list like days before they got released. So they just missed the cut for that list. And I think also another pop that was the same exact situation is that Thanos Pop Deluxe, where he's standing on the skeleton heads. That looked very great. Can't think of any like really pop icons. Maybe Jim Henson for your case.
Definitely a great pop.
Obviously, if you look on your screen, you'll see like a collage of pops because I'll probably remember them after I do this. But let's move on to number one, in which number one, it's number 56 in the Pop Rides lineup. From Toy Story, it's Woody with RC. This was rated 9.1 in overall hype, 9.6 in detail, a solid 10 out of 10 in personal reaction, which is the highest rating for not only personal reaction, but actually highest rating overall, and then an actual highest overall score, which was a 9.56. Honestly, I actually have the out-of-box pop with me right now, so I can explain how, even though I can probably tell, like, there's quite a bit of people that probably wouldn't even consider this pop at all on any of the lists. But I'm going to tell you how this definitely deserves to be on any list. First of all, this pop was originally supposed to be made for the 20th anniversary lineup, which, as this gets released, would be 5 years ago now. There's just so much detail when it comes to this, especially the fact that because this is an RC car, there's a bunch of screws on this pop to make it look like it's an actual RC car. And the one thing that Pop Rides lack of, in which this is like I think the first and only, is that a lot of the tires are like the vinyl material, but this one actually has rubber, which is awesome. A lot of people didn't like how the wheels didn't move, but first of all, it's not a toy, it's a collectible. You shouldn't be playing with these kind of things. I guess realistically, the only thing that could make this a 10 out of 10 in detail is the fact that during the movie, Woody has kind of like the dot on his forehead from when Sid used the magnifying glass, but it was also the tiniest of things that like Funko I feel like wouldn't have been able to pull it off all that well. And the fact that the box, like all Toy Story boxes, they're a little plain. It's just one solid color, even on the back. It's not all that well. And the thing I also like to mention is that when originally this was supposed to be for the 20th anniversary lineup, they originally had it a darker green than this, which I'm glad they went with this green. And the fact that they were going to originally make this like how they used to make Pop Rides, where they cut out like a rectangle and just place the pop in there, which I would have hated that so much. So I'm glad they went with just him sitting on top of the car and not having that kind of horrible detail added to it.
This is definitely one of the best pops I own for personal reaction wise. Now, I get what you say, like, it would be cool if they did have the dot on his head, but again, like, they kind of took the safer route by not adding it for maybe, like, racial reasons.
Yeah, I kind of figured it also, yeah.
And yeah, like, the way that the screws look is great because not only does it look realistic to, like, being an RC car, but it also hides the fact that there are real screws on here holding the base to the top half of the car. When you look at it at first glance, if you looked at the fake screws first, you wouldn't even know. Just the fact that they even put detail on the bottom of the car is just insane. I love the fact that the treads are rubber. I think it's so cool. The eyes on RC look so great. The decals on like the sides of the spoilers and on the sides of the car itself and on the back of the car, they're so well placed on. And Woody, there hasn't really been a bad Woody pop. Woody always looks great. Lots of detail on the chest. This whole pop comes together as one piece, and it's one of my favorites, and that's why I took it out of the box, because I think it just looks so nice without the box around it. So it definitely deserves number one for this year.
All right, so that is the first time for this top 50 list. Hope to do this in 2021. If you enjoyed this top 50 list, make sure you smash that like button. Comment in the comments section below on what your favorite pops were from the year of 2019. And make sure that you tune in next week because we are, like I said, now a weekly podcast. And so next week's edition, we will be talking about the missed Funko Pops from December 2019, which we got some from December 19th and December 20th, which were the last 2 days that Funko had announced Pops for the year of 2019. Plus, we'll be talking about the first set of Pops that are announced in 2020. So make sure you stay tuned for that. That's going to be awesome. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more content like this video. We do more than just podcasts on this channel. We do pop hunts, we do top 10 and top 5 lists, and so much more. And press the little bell to be notified of when future content like this video gets released. Also, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and follow us on Instagram at a Funko Popcast. But other than that, thank you all for listening to this podcast, and see you guys next time. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
Peace in, peace out.